Sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day, our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health, heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today, we're going to round out, form our trilogy of information on, I think, a very fascinating topic. First brought to us a couple months ago by a gentleman who hails from Canada. The topic has been on bioengineered algae. It has opened up an entire can of worms with respect to supplementation, how best to maybe accomplish that, what to do to supplement your own health issues with respect to taking care of your overall general health, but maybe correcting many of the ills or what is wrong with your own health at this time. This is a discussion we've had with a gentleman, Roland Thomas. We're bringing him back today. Of course, it all centers around the work of a very famous scientist, Russian scientist, Dr. Michael Kiriak, who discovered this approach to supplementation. We hope to be able to get into that issue of supplementation today, looking at maybe how you, the listener today, always looking for an edge in your own regime, might benefit from an approach utilizing, well, an awakening within known as bioengineered algae. We'll be with Dr. Roland Thomas right after that first break. If in the course of our discussions with him today, you want to call in to ask a question or make a comment, the number, of course, as always will be 412-825-6262, 412-825-6262. And of course, I'll give that number additionally throughout the hour. Okay, February, by the way, happy Valentine's Day to all. However you're celebrating it, we'll be celebrating it and are celebrating it maybe right now. February 14th, 2011 is in the history books beginning now. The rest of the month goes something like this. On the 16th Wednesday show, we'll be with Doug Inglesby. We'll be talking about the flavor makers. The pharmaceutical industry has been a big target of his for many years. He's been involved from his family viewpoint with one of the first really high potency. I think that was the term used back then. You don't really see it used anymore, but high potency vitamins literally came from his father's work very early on. All the names of that era, Adele Davis, Yule Gibbons, the list goes on and on, all personal friends of his father and acquaintances in his childhood youth of Doug Inglesby, will be our guest on Friday. Then on Wednesday. On Friday, we return with what I hope I am instilling in you is a little bit of intrigue to maybe want to get involved with something that we now know as MCG. At least that's what the company calls it. This is a multifunctional cardiogram. I asked Jerry if I was right in phrasing it this way. I said, hey, Jerry, I've been saying to my listeners and to my patients that the MCG is like getting all the information of having a cardiac cath without ever having a cardiac cath. And I mean that to be a cardiac catheterization. He said I was absolutely right, that the correlations are so close that you can gain that amount of information from the MCG. And we started our conversation with Jerry Singleton on Friday. He's coming back on this Friday the 18th. We're going to have a discussion talking about really some, in brief, about the study again, because we went over that so completely last week. But really talking about results, how those numbers, a score, by the way, finally is determined on you somewhere between 0 and 20. What that may mean and how that correlates to the status of your coronary arteries as if you had a cath, or what I believe to be the real intriguing component behind MCG, once again standing for multifunctional cardiogram, which we now do in our offices. We had a group of 13 patients go through here on the 3rd of February. He now comes back, he being Jerry, with the device on the 24th. We've opened it up to you, the public, if you want to become involved. Insurances cover this. This is a very interesting insurance-covered medium. It allows you to get this test. A 7-minute test, more or less, fully clothed, only exposing your ankles and your wrists. 7 minutes later, it's over, and later on in the day, we sort of send that information off via internet to get the results back within about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're set to be able to discuss it with you. MCG, our big unveiling in the month of February 2011. Space-age technology finally coming to the Pittsburgh area, and we're the first to get it. Then the following week, next week, on Monday, Alan Ridgway with us. Alan, of course, is a expert in diabetic issues. He's been fitting our diabetics for form-fitted shoes now for quite a while. All diabetics are entitled to be able to get these shoes. Their insurances do cover them. They're extremely expensive if you were to try to purchase them on your own. That's why we'd like to have Alan here to be able to get you a molded, form-fitted casting, literally, of your foot when they go about making both shoes and shoe inserts for you. Also, any other there have been a number of devices helpful to the diabetic. If you are one, you'll want to pay attention on the 21st, or have others who might be diabetics that you know. Give us a listen on that day so that we can go over those items for everyone who cares to learn of them. Then on the 23rd, an interesting day with Kurt Domkowski, bringing to you a brand new dressing. This is related to diabetic issues. Diabetics are very predisposed to developing infections in the distal extremities, most importantly in the feet. The disease of the microvasculature is so immense that the ability of blood supply to correct an infection is severely hampered. That's why the diabetics have literally panicked written on them when they get any wound to the foot. It can easily remain infected. It can lead to gangrene, and the list goes on. I won't even scare you with the other elements that are involved with it. However, a brand new dressing, I believe the diabetic for sure, and I think all of us should probably have in our medicine cabinet, called RTD dressings, are what to keep on hand. Literally, I've had it described to me as a padded material that just soaks up all the bacteria into it and allows it to be withdrawn and discarded in removing the infectious source in so doing. That's Kurt Domkowski with us on the 23rd next Wednesday. And that's how the month is shaping up, folks. Now, in the news, just a couple items. Always crossing my desk, anything of interest regarding mammography. You know, we make a big thing here, and always have, about, that's the fact that mammograms really aren't cracked up of what they have been purported to be. And I think the conventional medical community is out there really grasping. They see a group of citizens out there that they can't browbeat anymore, telling them to come on around. It's October, come on around, it's Code Pink, get those mammograms. 2 new enrollees in the mix. One I thought I'd bring to you. This is in the Huffington Post dispatch this morning. has to do with the newest wrinkle. I get a bit of I don't mean to make lightly of this, but in a way, I get a little bit of a little turn up of the corner of the mouth. Seems a company out there called Selenia Dimension Systems from Hologic Incorporated, that's a Massachusetts company, is now developing 3D mammograms, supposedly making them much more accurate. I can just see my radiologist with the little glasses. There's little plastic glasses looking at, because absolutely in 3D you can't get around it. You have to wear those glasses. I could see them all sitting around the room looking at the mammograms done in 3D. Oh yeah, by the way, a little catch here, and they just put it in as a postscript, and that is the, where is the point? I'm looking for the exact phrase that I had. They say the new system, oh, here it is. The FDA says the new system, here it comes, doubles the radiation exposure for patients, but on the plus side, increases the accuracy of the diagnosis. For what you know about radiation exposure, ladies, are you up for the crapshoot of doubling your radiation so that your doctor can look at your mammogram films with 3D glasses? I'll let you decide, as you always have done. You're making better decisions in this matter all the time. Now, in a related matter, and continuing in the area of mammography, physician and internal medicine doctor, her name is Dr. Deborah Rhodes, evidently very much involved in women's issues and particularly interested in the inaccuracy of mammograms due to breast tissue density. This is a big factor, a larger factor than I ever really imagined. The percentages of women who have this type of dense breast tissue is extremely high, 40–50% premenopausal women, and even a high percentage of postmenopausal women continue to have breast tissue so dense that mammography is really a joke. Well, who knows what it looks like in 3D, but we'll let that go for now. But there's a new study out there brewing. It is called MBI. You'll be hearing more about it, I'm sure. Molecular breast imagery. It turns out that standard X-ray is really affected severely by breast density. However, gamma rays, and really unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that gamma rays actually are not affected by breast density. And in the use of this MBI procedure, gamma ray technology is what's being proposed. There is a catch, however. What happens is you get an injection of radioactively labeled isotope prior to the actual receiving of the gamma ray. The trade-off, as I'm reading about it now, says that you don't have to worry about the squish anymore. There is no squish with gamma rays, no need to do so. Of course, we're going to have to give you the radioactively labeled substance just prior to it, and I'm not so sure that women are going to be running to get that procedure either. Anyway, these are the two new up-and-coming entrants into the world of mammography, which has been rapidly, and I mean rapidly, losing impetus when it comes to at least American women. Okay, let's do this. Let's take a short break. And in the interim, we're going to bring the issue of a bioengineered algae to the forefront once again. We're bringing our discussion to a close today. It's been a trilogy. The third part of the trilogy begins with Roland Thomas talking about bioalgae, bioengineered algae, an awakening within. Be right back.
This is Dentistry Court. You become confused about how best to manage your health. It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instructions, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in a formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Through the Spirit. The blessings of Through the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Through the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Through the Spirit, a blessing to your good health. Through the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you on this Monday version of the show. Things are warming up around here today. Well, a little bit of a cold dip, but it's going to be a wild and woolly week. Hope you all enjoy it as we heat up. And the conversation is going to heat up today. We are now in our third discussion with a issue first brought to my attention, intriguing me. Each and every time I discuss it, I'm intrigued even more. I hope you, the listener, are gaining an understanding of supplementation and maybe how you can go about it in a little bit of a different way than you ever had considered before. Anyway, this all circles around the work of a very interesting Russian scientist named Dr. Michael Kiriak, whose work in the realm of bioengineered algae leads us to our discussion today. We do so with the help of a gentleman been with us now his third time. His name is Dr. Roland Thomas. He's a naturopathic physician, the founder of BioAge, and editor of its monthly health newsletter. He's been a holistic health enthusiast since his exposure to natural medicine, nutrition, yoga, vegetarianism, of some 38 years ago. He's certainly been a good guide to us on our understanding of the work of Dr. Michael Kiriak and the offering that his company BioAge now brings to us. Let's welcome him once again and bring him back. Let's say good morning and welcome back, Dr. Thomas. Thanks for coming aboard.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here again.
Well, Dr. Thomas, we're old friends now, and my listeners know that the Canadian twirl to your voice very well by now. Could we just take a bit, because I mean, so much has now been learned from the work of Dr. Michael Kiriak. We've spoken of his work. Kindly, if you could, in capsulized form, talk to us about Dr. Kiriak, how it was that we end up with the bioengineered algae discussion we're into today. He has an illustrious career that has helped much livestock, many humans, and now with it on the precipice of the ability to help others and legions in the future. Give us a little bit of a word about Dr. Kiriak and his discoveries, if you would, Doctor.
It'll be my pleasure. Would you mind? I'd like to remind the listener that I do still offer a book that I wrote about the whole story and I offer it if you would just call in or send us an email or visit the website to acquire this book, because we're not going to be able to tell the whole story today again, even in 3 times that we've spoken about it. And you may call the number 877-288-9116 and leave your name well spelled and your address and telephone number and an email if you have, and I'll gladly send you a copy of the book. Or you may visit at bioage.com, 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 with the Canadian twirl.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for mentioning how to get that book. I'm sorry.
I think last time we forgot. Yeah, and we speak, and people get just a part of our conversations, and they're intrigued.
They are very much intrigued. The work of Dr. Kiriak makes it so. Give us your best summation of his work. You speak and know him so well. He remains a personal friend of yours. He's up in Canada with you, has been there for a number of years now, and probably intimately involved with your company called BioAge. Talk to us about his studies, his work, and what has led to the company called BioAge that we're talking about today.
Yeah. I'll start with the human factor. At the age of 12 years old, his dad died of pancreatic cancer. And his family stemmed from a family of farmers, and they had vineyards, and they had known the old medicine, if you recall, chicken soup and poultice, and that's all we had prior to the advent of modern medicine, but also certainly prior to the advent of supplement industry. And that and other deaths in his family, his grandfather, led him to, inspired him to study, and fortunately, he was able to study in biology and graduated with a degree in cellular nutrition, which was quite fortunate because in Russia you didn't really pick what you did, what you would wanted to do at the time. You were subject to, as you recall, the communist system. But he was very grateful, and he was involved in observing or studying the Japanese research that began in the 50s with chlorella, particularly, an algae that is quite popular nowadays. And he saw the potential as a student and picked on that algae specifically, and resultingly advanced enough proposal to his chair, university chair, and when he graduated, he was allowed to continue to study, and that evolved into looking limitation, first of all. They were studying with small animals, mice and rats particularly, and seeing that different formulations could get different results. So they began to look at a variety of other algae. This is back in the 70s when the realm of algae was not very well known. And over the next 8 years, they looked at thousands of algae, or permutations and combinations, and they began to blending some together because one single algae was rarely enough to achieve the goals that they were after. He was asked right from the university to look at ways of solving productivity due to the epidemic of cancer in the livestock industry of that part of the world, which is when we in America as well, for different reasons, began regrouping small farms into large, massive farms for better productivity. It ended up that we are really losing productivity when you put millions of animals together due to hygiene or due to you can't really feed these animals in their normal feed, such as grass for cows and so forth. So that leads to lower productivity, leads to diseases, leads to cancers, obesity, leads to cardiovascular problems, osteoporosis, all of the problems that we humans suffer from as well. And after those first 8 years, they began to be able to prevent the conditions, the cancers, the issues in these species. They proved that undeniably when looking at applying these blends of algae over 20 species, and eventually they were allowed to work with 4 large trials, real-life field trials, one of which had 54,000 pigs, and that's quite, it's rare that you can have an opportunity to work with such a large production center, even in America, for many years. And as well, there was a poultry center with 1 million chicken, which was suffering from frequent bouts of marek, which is a cancer-specific poultry, and tens of thousands of minks and a 15,000 dairy cow. Those were extraordinary opportunities for him and his team, because he wasn't alone conducting these research, demonstrate that they were able to prevent the cancer from reoccurring or from occurring in the first place. And as well, they demonstrated that when there was already a cancer engaged, for example, marek in the poultry center, they were able to stop it, stabilize it, remiss it, and 50% of the poultry healed, if you wish, were able to actually lay eggs again, to become productive again. Now, I want to qualify this, that this was with animals, and most of them were mammals, so there's a relationship to human as far as mammal goes. But I also want to qualify that I want to tame it a bit, because research with animals, in the words of Dr. Kiriak, is a lot easier than research with humans. It's a lot less costly, and you can take 100,000 or 1 million chickens and separate them in hundreds of thousands or facilities of 100,000 and compare. And it's easy because they will all have the same diet. They may all be the same age. They all eat at the same time, and they don't go to the bar. And in other words, they're disciplined and they don't lie. So there's no placebo issue. I want to share that with our listeners, because human research is so difficult, even in these large pharmaceutical trials of 8,000 people over periods of 6 years or 10 years. You're left with nobody has the same diet. Nobody has the same attitude towards life. Nobody has the same belief system, and nobody has the same discipline. So trials with humans are plagued with placebic effects. And at the end of 8 years, you may say, well, this will reduce cholesterol levels. So you can prove a segmented morsel, a portion of biochemistry, but that doesn't mean that you'll not have a heart attack, even if your cholesterol is lowered. And I just want to make that point. So in essence, that's his life work. It's an extraordinary and amazing fact that a country stood behind such research, which ended up being fully natural. I mean by that it was, he continued to use the algae in their natural form, even though they had tried to mix them with some other chemicals, including selenium, for example, or large doses of alpha-lipoic acid and vitamin C. And this they were doing to try to make the algae more protective, more protectional against free radical, against cancer cells, and to augment their capacity to heal these conditions. And they were able to fall back towards using the algae in their natural state, though they were boosted with much better technology as far as algal culture goes, as well as they certainly took algae in nature that had the potential as antioxidants, and full of or mixed antioxidants, such as the red algae, those were knowledge that were not known back in the 70s, and already Dr. Kiriak was applying these concepts, and the blending as well achieved greater synergy and greater potential.
Now, as the work continued, there was a definite shift from animal livestock populations to human populations. When did that shift occur? How long has it been since there has been a definite change in your approach? In fact, your very company really isn't selling to livestock companies. It is a company that deals with the human population. So where is it in Dr. Kiriak's work that the human component becomes that much more solidified, and then it becomes maybe assumed, but then later confirmed that there's quite a bit to be gained from utilizing these types of algae in a human population?
All along, from the beginning, he himself and many of the scientists working alongside him, and eventually even farm workers, obviously, he would say they were doing, they would steal some from the center to apply to their animals or to their family. And these were like white, small tests, and they wouldn't talk about that. This is the Soviet Union, where I don't think you want to go to, going to be caught stealing at that time, end up in Siberia. But this is a cute story that he would tell, that the people believe so much, the people around the research, in the effect of these products, of these algae on the animals, but also on themselves, that they would even borrow some, if I can use that.
Well, okay, they borrowed it.
Yeah. So they really conducted informal study in parallel, and particularly Dr. Kiriak, with local and small clinics, with humans for diverse conditions, cardiovascular problem, for diabetes, and even some cancer, particularly after the Chernobyl disaster of 1986. What happened after that terrible explosion, and that city of Chernobyl, per se, 500,000 people were evacuated, and thousands of people died very soon after. But many stayed alive, but plagued with radiation ills, the like of leukemia, anemia, and epilepsy, and much more, and certainly later on their children. And to this day, people are suffering from, there's a lot of epilepsy over there, birth defects still, and anemia and leukemia still occurring frequently in the population from that region. But the year after, immediately after the explosion, Dr. Kiriak was informally allowed to apply his formula to some dozens of people, in the hundreds. He never kept the records and books of that, because this was a knee-jerk panic reaction to take care of people that had been displaced very quickly. There was no room for these dying children and adults. And so they had the opportunity to work alongside the research center, one of their research centers, in local schools. Children were housed as best as they could. And to apply the formula, the blends of algae, some of these people that were basically scheduled to die. And what was observed was degeneration, and many came back alive, from the pictures that we've seen, children with their eyes coming out of the sockets, with loss of hair and so forth. And many came back alive, to life and resilience, and are alive today, and particularly in the children population. Children are more resilient, or in the healthy adults, meaning, and he means by that those that were already somewhat applying the good lifestyle, or willing to apply the discipline. You need to eat well when you start to heal from cancer, particularly. You need to not cheat. You need to not continue smoking, because that's not going to help the situation, or drinking. And of course, some adults have a tendency to think that even with cancer they can continue these, let's say, in an abusive way. So that's not going to help. So that was the first informal but formal research with humans. And subsequently, when he moved to Canada in 1996, after an attempt to begin promoting the product in the livestock industry in Canada, where he gets some resistance, it's a very difficult business to penetrate. The livestock, or the animal in the agriculture industries in Canada and in America, are a lot more difficult to penetrate in terms of introducing a new natural, a new feed, or a new supplement. I found that out myself. In that industry, you need to have a demonstration research per species, per size even. So in other words, a large dog versus a small dog. Cats are different than dogs, and so on and so forth. And usually it ends up being by state as well. Each state has some variants that you need to demonstrate. While with human, it's a lot easier to introduce a dietary supplement, which is the route that Dr. Kiriak decided to take in Canada. And back starting in 1996, 97, 98, 99. By 1999, he had he was able to promote it for human use.
And that has led then to your company that you put together called BioAge, which now works closely with Dr. Kiriak, if I understand correctly. You grow these, and they're basically for algae. And you hydroponically grow them in laboratory conditions and are able to harvest them, package them, and deliver them to others. Now, this process goes on in Canada today. Is that where the cultivation takes place?
No, the cultivation takes place still in Siberia, which was one of the discovery was that by using as a base soup, nutrient base to nourish these algae during their growth, these algae need to grow on minerals and other phytonutrients that are found typically in lagoons. One moment, I'm going to cough here.
Go ahead.
That are typically found in open lagoons or lakes. If we look at the industry, most algae are grown on Hawaii or near or on Lake Clementi or in Australia or wherever the algae are grown. They're usually grown near volcanic regions, and I'm talking about algae for human consumption, those that have been discovered to be good for human consumption. And during the Soviet research, they found that even using geyser water, which is already steaming hot, which comes from thousands of feet below volcanic peninsula, they discovered that there was a much richer amount of trace elements and minerals and other critical components for the growth of the algae. So they began to use that as a base, and they keep that into a covered facility, a hydroponic facility, for protecting against pollutants, airborne pollutants, or wind pollutants, or, of course, already protected from the lake or mercury or other, nowadays other pollutants that are found in all of our water. So you have at the end of the culture of very pure algae, as well as a much richer. One example I can give you is you'll find over 110 known mineral trace elements in the blend, while a typical single algae you might find 50 trace elements. And those mineral trace elements are the foundation of green life, but also we humans need those abundantly. That's part of our food, our diet. And otherwise, they are freeze-dried there into indestructible powders, which are preservable for years and years, actually. And they're brought to Canada, where they're blended in a proportion that Dr. Kiriak discovered works best, and encapsulated in Boston Bear.
There you go. Starts in Siberia, ends in Canada, huh? And the integrity is maintained through Dr. Kiriak's watchful eye to bring to us, the consumer, if we would choose to attempt to sample these products, which are now available through your company called BioAge. Now, what I want to do, Dr. Thomas, take a short break and come back and literally talk about what I believe you're probably most expert in, which is the supplementation regime itself. Because of your naturopathic background, you're dealing with supplements professionally for so many years, you now take a different look at supplements, and I wish you would share that different look with our listeners, okay?
Yes.
All right, folks, the awakening within, the awakening the genius within, the story goes on. We need to talk about how it ultimately can come out to work for you with respect to how your own supplementation can change. We're with Dr. Roland Thomas. We're going to take a short break and come back talking about how do you supplement by the use of these algae, and how would that affect your current supplementation regime. Be back in a moment.
Help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instructions, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you were looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to AM Impact on Your Health here on this Monday morning version of the show. We're with a friend of ours from Canada, who is a scientist deeply involved with an intriguing new supplemental regime involving algae. Bioengineered algae originating from, as we now find out, from Siberia, and finally packageable in Canada and available to you. His name is Dr. Roland Thomas. You're with us again, Dr. Thomas, are you not?
I am.
Would you take just a moment once again so that our listeners who may have missed it, what phone numbers can they get the book? Because I know you'll supply them with the book, Awakening the Genius Within, as well as your website where these products are available.
The telephone number is 877-288-9116. And please leave your name spelled completely and address and telephone number and email in case we need to reach you so that we don't have to call back and forth. We can right away send you the book, free, complimentary. We want you to read the book. It's an amazing story. That's why I wrote it. I was so just amazed, and of course I was telling the story all the time. So I wrote the book. And also you may visit at bioage.com and there sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get a monthly newsletter. You can always opt out, but by signing up there you'll also get an electronic version of the book. And otherwise, from the contact page, you can send an email again with your details, and we'll send you the book.
Okay. Now, probably to the most important part and applicability part of all, here you are, you're a naturopathic physician. You had studied the use of nutrition, nutrient supplementation. You probably had countless numbers of clients that you counseled on how to put together good supplemental regimes. I think in your own case, you were up to taking about 23 supplements a day. I think I have the number correct. I think you corrected me last time. And yet, you look at this completely different now. And I'd like you to share that philosophical approach with supplementation with our listener who is always out there trying to take a look at their own supplements and how to improve them. As you look at it, Doctor, how did you improve from your perspective, and how would you recommend that our listeners improve their supplemental regime through the use of your product?
Yeah, it's, well, with or without my product, by the way. It's a subject that's dear to me, and I've really taken on a hard look and actually a hard position that I'm trying to soften. Early in my life, I did not use supplements like most of us. Certainly my parents never did, and in my neck of the woods, there was no such thing as supplements other than fish oil in the winter. But with the science evolving and with medicine evolving, we, as you know, with the advent of vitamin C with Linus Pauling and gradually other discovery, the workings of vitamin E and minerals in our body, and later on even coenzymes and enzymes, and back to, there's also a lot of supplements that are the green food type supplements, blends of herbs and so forth, and herbs, and there's thousands of options nowadays that were not there when you and I were in our teens. And it's very confusing for most. It was confusing for me, but I tend to dig in, and I did a lot of research along in parallel with the evolutions of these supplements. And you sort of do silo research. You'll study, vitamin E as taken apart as a separate. It's a very important vitamin in our body, as is vitamin C and so forth. And each of these studies lead you to believe that these are critical requirements of our diet. And anyhow, that's what I did in the 90s. I began to look closely at supplements and apply them to myself and to my clients because I was aging. And I was listening to all the proposals that if I didn't supplement, I might die sooner than later or suffer. And I fell for that extreme propaganda. I call it the supplement marketing industry. There's nothing wrong with selling stuff, but when it applies to my health, I'm very, very careful. And I was careful enough that I began to believe in up to 23 different supplements that I was taking, the likes of multivitamins and multiminerals, lycopene, alpha-lipoic acid, selenium, the antioxidants, green foods, the minerals, the vitamins, saw palmetto for my prostate. And what you find when you hear these stories, when you study these articles, that they're typically applied to a specific deficiency of our biochemistry or specific ailments that you want to prevent, such as prostate cancer with palmetto, antioxidants for generically for cancer, and so forth. And with the Cancer Society in the background telling us that we need these colorful phytonutrients and carotenoids and vitamins from diet rich in multiple food and so forth, that's always lingered in the back. The Cancer Society was ahead, actually, or alongside the supplement industry, telling people to eat a better diet. And that's always present in our consciousness. We know that these nutrients are in our diet. Anyhow, in summary, really what Dr. Kiriak was for me when I met him in 1998 was he created if you wish, a paradigm in my consciousness. He told me that everything that I was doing, that each of the supplements that I was using was smart. You're very smart, Roland. You studied each of them. You understand the logic and the biochemistry. And he didn't say to stop. He just gave me a handful of green capsules, and he asked me to try them. And at the time, as I said, I was taking 23 supplements, but I was taking them for reasons other than prevention. I was already plagued with some health issues myself. Particularly, I had some chronic back problems and then a recurring chronic knee tendonitis. I was gaining weight rapidly. It was more and more difficult to shed the weight. And frankly, at 49 years of age, my energy was not what it was. I was not able to apply, to participate in extreme sports anymore, like tennis or running, which had been one of my passions. And so I felt pessimistic about my future life. Imagine if you can't do these things and you're plagued with back problems. You got 50 more years to go. So that was some of the reason that I was taking those supplements. But it was obviously not working. You know, I'd been taking them for 8 years, handfuls of supplements daily. And I had no tangible evidence that it was doing anything in my life, other than I believed that they were good.
Well, with a few minutes left, I want you to accelerate this. So with the supplements or the algae supplements that Dr. Kiriak gave you, what changes did you notice and how quickly did you notice them?
Yes, that's a great question, and I do want to add before we go there that, frankly, had I just stopped supplementing back then at the age of 49 and began eating, back to eating better, and I think I could have been just as well without supplements, eating better and maybe doing more qigong. And fasting a bit, you know, I don't mean extreme fasting, but fasting a day a week or a weekend a month. Those are quite healing affairs. When you eat less, you fast a little bit, and you convert towards a diet that is a lot more rich in lots of green foods and fruits. And I believe that if we all did that effort, and notice I didn't say to stop eating meat or stop drinking or alcohol and so forth. I'm more a proponent of gradually do the better thing, do the right thing, and let the glass fill with the right thing, and the overfill will naturally drop out of your life. But the algae from Dr. Kiriak are a breed apart. We're talking about a product that changed my life, I'd say, to 180 degrees. And I mean by that I felt physically better right away. Within the first day, I noticed a difference, a shift. Within a few weeks, I stopped taking all the other supplements of my own accord because I saw that this little green pills were doing to me extraordinary changes. And also my back pain and knee pain within the first month or two or three. I never kept detailed log, but I certainly had my story written somewhere. I began to brisk walk and run. I was able to complete a half marathon, which is 20 miles run, and then the next year I ran 4 marathons. Those are 25 miles run in that next year with no pain, with no injury, without supplementation. And I said earlier that I was a little hard. I want to moderate. I mean, there are cases where supplementation may be used, obviously, most likely in some therapeutic ways. And there may be, I don't want to throw all the supplements in the same bucket here. The generic, if you wish, discovery of mine that supplementation is overkill. We are overdoing it. We have people taking, like myself, 23, 30, 40. I've had people taking 60 supplements daily. And they need a spreadsheet to monitor when to buy them and how many capsules of each they take, at what time, and so forth. So that's overdone. And I know many people that are in alternative health and natural health. I'll give an example of Dr. Mercola. I think he takes just 3 or 4 himself. And so I invite you to consider moderating your supplementation. But back to Dr. Kirak's algae, for me they have provided a renewed vitality, not just physical, but as well as we call it brain food, and you can really feel it in your clarity and your focus. And I really reinvented my life at that time. I began to specifically take on Dr. Kirak's mission to spread the good word about these algae. I did that in the U.S., and I began focusing my company to solely really sell that supplement and educate about it. But also that's what I do with clients of mine, is I share not only about this supplement, but about reducing supplementation, about introducing other means of getting better, of prevention.
Well, thank you. We want to thank you for sharing your story with us. It's been an intriguing one. We'll pick up this story, ladies and gentlemen. I promise to bring you the actual supplements themselves and tell you how to get them. Dr. Thomas, thank you so much. Our time has expired today. We'll be back. We'll bring you back again. You don't mind coming back at some time in the future, do you?
No, I would enjoy that.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Algae, in a way that you've never looked at it before. This is Dr. Dennis Courtney now with Dr. Roland Thomas saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
KHB reminds you, children are